Thanks for Coach.
Chris, have you been able to check as many boxes as you've hoped to check through these first 13 games? Maybe not all of them, but have you seen positive progression?
Yeah, of course. I do think there's been some positive growth in the team. We think back where we were that very first practice of the summer and where we are today. Definitely a better team, better individual players. Everybody's improved, and I'd hope that the players would say the same thing about the staff. I think our staff is adjusted, and as we've gotten to know these guys, and I think there's a lot of growth and a lot of improvement in the non-conference schedule. None of that really means anything on Saturday night when the ball goes up, but I do see improvement. In terms of checking all the boxes, as a coach, you always wish you had more time, another practice, another film session. We do believe in preparation around here, no different than anybody else in the SEC, I'm sure. But in terms of preparation, you always wish you had a little bit more time. But I am proud of this team. I agree with Al. These guys have bought in. Now it's a matter of going out there and trying to play our best basketball when it matters most. And for us, that's his second season. The second season of conference play.
For you and your staff, you obviously had that uncertainty on when you get Musa and Brandon, but you were able to get them for those last handful of games. For y'all, how does that kind of free y'all up in what y'all were wanting to do maybe from the start of the season heading into SEC play?
It's obviously a positive. Anytime you can add talented players to your roster, I think. First, I've said it before, I have a lot of respect for those two guys, Musa and Brandon, how they handled the situation. From the very first day, we talked about just controlling what you can control. It's easy to sit around and talk about, but to see those guys do it for weeks and months, every day, come to practice, every day embrace individual workouts, all the way up until, game day. Both those guys were a real factor in the first games of the season when they weren't playing. Great leadership from the bench. Some specific things. I thought Musa did a great job with young Rashad at the first of the season, helping him get ready to play, talking to him during games and at halftime. I'll never forget that. It was kind of a highlight from a coaching standpoint. It's really proud of both guys. Not only the leadership of Musa, but the willingness of Rashad to listen. I think some of the best leaders in sports history, whether it's Peyton Manning, I think, is on the record for saying this. There's no leaders if there's no followers. So I think we had some good leadership from those two guys when they couldn't play. But I give our players a lot of credit that were listening to the leadership. To have those two guys back, it's obviously a positive. And so those two guys are going to be a big part of what we try to do here in the next 2.5 months.
Well, talking with Rick Barnes at SEC Media Day, it seems like y'all are pretty familiar with each other when he was at Texas and when you were at Tech under Bob Knight and all that. Just about Rick Barnes as a coach and what he's been able to do very much before he's been, year in, year out, play college defense and so forth.
Yeah, I think, in coaching such a competitive world, no doubt about that. Everybody knows that. So when people start saying, hey, we're friends, I think the word friends is used a little bit loose in coaching. I don't know if there's a lot of friends out there. But I do confidently say, and I can't speak for Coach Barnes, but I do consider Coach my friend. He's a mentor. When he first got the University of Texas job years ago, that was my alma mater. I was coaching junior college at Fort Scott Community College, and it's the first time I met Coach and just had a great relationship. Certainly my time with Bob Knight and Pat Knight, those two guys were extremely close with Coach Barnes, and I was a part of that friendship. And then since, just so many stories. I could talk all day about Coach Barnes. A lot of respect for Coach. In my opinion, he's one of the most least talked about Hall of Fame coaches in our game, and I'm not sure why. My personal opinion is he's not a self-promoter. He's not one of these guys that lives his life in social media or tells everybody what he's done. He just goes about and coaches his team, makes his players better, and just wins. Starting his career at Clemson, I believe George Mason before that, he was a guy that guys like me always looked up to. He was kind of the underdog. He always had a chip on his shoulder. He fought for his team and his program, and he went toe to toe and face to face with some of the GOATs in our game early in his career. And now he's become, in my mind, one of those GOATs of the game. So a lot of respect for Coach, and appreciate what he's done for our teams over the years.
Chris, is there a value, I guess, going into conference play to proving it to yourselves early with a good performance performance?
We talk a lot about validating. You have a good half of basketball, doesn't mean anything unless you validate it the next half. You have a good day of practice, doesn't mean anything unless you validate it the next day. It's kind of like next play mentality, and this is how you win. So I think, to answer your question, yes. I mean, you're only as good, I believe, as your last possession, your last game, your last segment, your last 4-minute game. So another reason why I love these guys we're coaching. I like these guys. I'm looking forward to taking this journey with them because I think they've not only bought into a lot of these things, but they try their best to execute it. We're going to try to play our best game of the year on Saturday. That's Captain Obvious, but I think that's what's in our guys' hearts. I think they understand that, the team we were in November, that's not going to get it done in March. And the ability to just continue to improve and chip away is a really big part of any season.
How do you, I guess, manage the continual need for improvement when you haven't lost yet? That seems challenging, I guess, from an outside perspective.
In our mind, it's we don't think much about we haven't lost yet. The games and the scoreboard, that's just one measure. Some people think that maybe Ole Miss hasn't had any adversity yet. Somebody said that the other day, and that's far from the truth. And that's just wrong. Whoever said that doesn't know what they're talking about. We've had a lot of adversity. The goal around here isn't just to win the 40-minute game on the scoreboard. The goal around here is to play the best basketball we can, and that's why, in my opinion, I think it's the greatest game ever invented, but it's certainly one of. And as a coach and as a player, you're always striving for perfection. You're never going to quite get there, but that's what you're striving for. Can you play the game the best way it can be played? And I'm not talking about making every shot or playing mistake-free basketball. That's impossible. I'm talking about embracing every possession and having 5 guys on the court doing their job each possession. And so for us, we have all sorts of measuring sticks and goals, and the scoreboard is just one of them. And these would be the same things if we were sitting here and we weren't 13-0. The scoreboard is just one measure. More important to us is where we at with our standards, our non-negotiables, the things that we believe in. Where's our transition defense at? For us, there's a scoreboard on all these things: transition defense, rebounding, shot selection, toughness, 50-50 balls. And so, again, we just strive to be the best team we can. We're early in the journey. We're 0-0 right now. Saturday's the first game, but we're excited about the opportunity.
When you talk about the style of basketball Tennessee plays, is there a particular team that y'all faced in the non-conference slate that may prepare you best for this type of basketball you're going to go up against?
Yeah, I think so. I think a combination of a lot of teams, and we tap back into that a lot in preparation. Certainly the way Memphis plays the game with a physicality is going to be similar to Tennessee. I've always thought Coach Barnes' teams are about 2 or 3 things before you ever look at the roster. It's about physical play, physicality. It's about toughness. It's about rebounding. Coaches' teams are going to play defense. There's not going to be a lot of easy shots to be found out there on Saturday, so you're going to have to work for it. But, yeah, I think as we go back through our non-conference, and we do that from time to time, we're trying to defend a stagger screen. NC State ran that same stagger screen, so there's always some similarities as the journey continues.
Chris, how would you compare and contrast what you get at that 5 spot from Musa and Jamarian? What do they bring that's different to each other?
Yeah, similar players in some ways, but absolute different identities and different players. In terms of recruiting, it starts with the character of both guys. Musa is extremely competitive. He's a guy that cares about his own performance and his team's performance. He's very, very aggressive and competitive, so he's striving for individual things that can help the team, but he's also very, very team-oriented. He's a leader. Sharp, Books, as I call him, he's a different personality, but don't get it twisted. He's very competitive, and he cares about his craft, and he loves his teammates and his team dearly. So in recruiting, we thought we were getting the right 2 character guys, guys that want to be coached, guys that want to be teammates, and guys that care about the guy next to them. In terms of their games, obviously the length and shot blocking and defensive ability for both guys, there's some similarities, although they go about it in different ways. Then offensive, they obviously put a lot of pressure on the rim with pick and roll. I think they're underrated passers. I think they're guys that can do a lot of things offensively, and so yeah, both guys are obviously different players, but there's some similarities in their games that attracted us to both of them in recruiting.
A little bit off topic, but I think it's also where Eduardo Clappi is enrolling early and is on campus right now, if I'm not mistaken. If that's the case, have you seen him kind of, handle the day-to-day kind of with the team, kind of being behind the scenes before suiting up next year?
You are mistaken. Klafke's not on campus, but I appreciate you saying that. A lot of media guys never admit they're mistaken, but that's pretty cool. No, the plan is for Klafke to come early. It hasn't been 100% executed yet, but that's something with Eduardo. He was such a good student, and he had the ability to graduate early, very similar to the football model that those guys have been executing for a long time. So if that happens for us, that'd be great to get him here early. He's certainly a player that we have a lot of confidence in. It's going to be a big part of Ole Miss basketball moving forward.
Any more questions?
Appreciate you guys. And one last thing, these first two SEC games, obviously the students aren't here yet. There's tickets available, including some of those lower level tickets that is normally the student section. The ticket office is selling those seats. And so I think we've done a good job trying to get the message out, but probably not a great job. So if you guys could help us with that, I'd greatly appreciate it. So first two SEC home games, lower level, row 1, row 2, row 3 tickets are still available. There's not many left, but there's a few right now. So I'd appreciate you guys helping us get that word out. Thank you.